You are listening to End the Job Search on W4CY Radio and the UEC Military Freedom Network. I'm your host, Susan Rich, and I wrote the book on writing kick-butt resume cover letters that get you noticed. My guest today is Laura Schlafly, owner of Careers with Laura. Laura works with boomers to help them identify their next dream job. Today we're going to talk about baby boomers and the job search, how the over 50s can remain focused and become successful. And we're going to talk about reverse discrimination and whether boomers are hurting themselves during the job hunt. Laura, welcome. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure.
Yes. So let me tell folks a little bit about you and your background. You founded Career Choices with Laura, and what you do is you inspire and guide baby boomers to investigate and then launch their dream careers when they are over 50. And Laura's a well-educated serial entrepreneur and a boomer herself, so she really knows what's going on in the market today. And Laura has 20 years of hands-on practical experience in product marketing, field sales, and small business development. And she calls herself an Encore Career Coach, which I think is a really cool name and an uplifting way of looking at your secondary career. And Laura combines her skills, plus the wealth of knowledge gleaned from her own 5 careers, into a tailored strategy that helps her clients uncover their core passions and apply them to a motivating purpose with a paycheck attached. So that's Laura Schlafly, a creative catalyst for career change. And got into Encore Career. So tell me a little bit about how your journey, because you're a baby boomer yourself, tell me how your journey led you into where you are today.
And I do have a 20-year background in, sales and marketing and family business, turnaround and management. But all that was just a preparation for me leading up to what is my current company, as you mentioned, Career Choices with Laura, which I founded in March of this year. And truly, it is my own Encore career. And by that, I mean that it is my plan to grow this business over the next several years by helping others like myself, who is a boomer, and who want continued work in what is often called the second half of life. And that will, truly meet the criteria of having what a common phrase now is having passion, purpose, and a paycheck, which is exactly what I want too. So who I help really are the 50-plus crowd, and that plus can go on up to 70 or more. And that crowd of boomers have been, let's say they've been between jobs for 1, 2, or more years beyond this, when the recession started. Or maybe they're planning to retire soon, people a little older, or maybe they've already retired, and now they're bored, they're unchallenged, and they're really looking for something they can sink their teeth into. They're looking for a reason to become re-engaged and reconnected and proud of their new accomplishments. So what I do is I guide them in the process of the research, the discovery, and implementation of truly an Encore career. And that could be for a person for them to be an employee or a business owner, or maybe something with a volunteer component to it.
But we'll revisit that in a moment. But let's talk about the job search for boomers, Laura, and what is really going on with that today. What are some of the difficulties?
Well, I think that one of the difficulties, and you've alluded to this by asking people about being on LinkedIn, is being visibly up to date and having an online presence. And I think most people, if they've been out in the job search recently in the last couple of years, have learned that. They've learned that they do need an online presence, and they really, if they don't, they're going to look like so unwith it with the times, and they're not going to be found. If you want to be found today, and if you want to be considered up to date, you must have an online presence. That's a very strong point. And, we can go through some, steps to talk about how that could happen.
Well, yeah. Why don't you share some of those steps? Because it's LinkedIn, and I meet a lot of people who are uncomfortable using it. So I'd like you to share your thoughts on LinkedIn. And then what about Facebook? What about Twitter? What are some of the other ways that people can use social media to help get themselves an online presence?
Yeah, and I would say, the first step to take before you jump into that is actually Google yourself. Put your name in there and look at yourself, see if you've got any digital dirt hanging around there. And And there are ways to get rid of that. So first, look that up. Look up yourself and see what's there. If there's anything that you don't want on there, you can get rid of it. But the second step in setting up your LinkedIn profile, and like I say, anybody who's current knows this, but anybody who's just maybe released from a position and they're the 50 plus may not be aware of this because they've been just fine where they are. But make sure you set up your LinkedIn profile and make it 100%. I mean, that is just a bare minimum. And that'll mean you're about 40 times more likely to be found by recruiters and potential employers. So, you will go through those steps, and you can look on LinkedIn and see what they are. Absolutely include a photo. It doesn't matter that you've got some gray around the edges. Don't get in the mindset that we mentioned. That's because I'm older, then I'm not going to be looked upon as, valuable property. Just have that positive thought. And if you are unemployed, which is what we're talking about here, it's perfectly fine to list your current position like seeking opportunity as something or another. Don't do the thing of saying you're a consultant. I mean, that will rapidly be discovered. So, those are the minimum requirements, and then beyond that,
And so don't just classify yourself as unemployed. Don't ever lose track of who you are and what you bring to the table. Remember that you are an asset, that the company can use someone with your skills and abilities, that you truly bring value to the table. So even though you might be unemployed, that is a temporary condition, even if it's going on for a year or two. You still have to hang on to the idea that as a boomer, you managed to have a sustainable, fulfilling career for a number of years. And just because you've hit a rough spot does not mean you've lost everything. You've just had a setback. Okay, so Laura, please continue.
And a little bit more on the LinkedIn. Absolutely join any groups that are in your industry. Participate in their Q&As that they do. You can go to Google Answers and in general and provide answers there. You'll be seen more as somebody in the know. Of course, there's always the status updates that you would do, and you can add your resume to the LinkedIn profile. But now there's more if you'd like me to give a couple of other steps, Susan.
Yeah, just social media.
So you could also set up your Google profile, because as we all know, everything revolves around Google, so you can set up a profile there. You can also go to different respective blogs in your field and comment on those. Let your name be known regarding those in your field. You could even do Amazon.com reviews of books in your field. That's another way, using your complete name. And if you want, you can start a blog, something that attracts you and interests you. And there are ways that you can get your blog written up in directories like ezinearticles.com. And here's another thing, try this. Set up a Google alert on your name. Go into Google and they have alerts, and you can see when your name is mentioned online. And also, Facebook, we like to think of it as being often a personal tool for connecting, but it's very much a business tool now. And I think the statistics are something I've seen ranges up from 60 to 90% of recruiters now are going online, and that includes Facebook. They're going to be the competitor to everybody, including LinkedIn. So they're always going to be having features that job seekers want to use. So don't forget Facebook, and those people 60 to 90% of the recruiters will be looking there. And I want to mention something else. One last thing is that Twitter absolutely is a way to get your opinions out there in your industry, in your field, and to connect with potential hiring managers. So do not forget that. There's a great book, Twitter Job Search Guide by Susan Whitcomb. That is a wonderful tool you can use. So don't forget Twitter.
Don't forget Twitter. So then the next thing I want to talk about, and Laura had mentioned this to me, and I hadn't even thought of it. The comment I made at the beginning of the show where baby boomers feel like, there's a lot of age discrimination, that young people don't want to hire them because they've got gray in their hair. And Laura and I were talking about it, and she said, well, they could actually be practicing, the boomers, age discrimination themselves, reverse age discrimination. So Laura, describe that for me.
Well, that would be where you're going to make unfounded assumptions or premature assumptions about younger people, be they your interviewers, potential hiring managers, and you may make assumptions that make you look like you're arrogant or condescending. So you really need to take a look at your own beliefs and assumptions. Just don't assume that you know it all because you're older, and don't let that come out and come through in your conversation. Have respect for the person, even though they may be 30, 40 years your junior. I mean, they're looking to potentially hire you, so don't look down on them. That's one point.
Okay. What else? What are some other suggestions?
Well, of course, the one that I just was talking about of having this online presence, those people, the younger generation is going to be looking for your online presence. And if you don't have it, I mean, you just look so old. You know, you really have to have that. So all that I described a few minutes ago is going to be absolutely true. You need to be positioning yourself in the online social world. And again, that includes Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So
your job search. The other point that I wanted to ask you about, Laura, is the tried and true hanging out on monster.com. What is that like, hanging out on job boards looking for your next position?
And, you know, there was a time probably in the 90s where that was very trendy, and going online for job search was a new tool. And, of course, we know it isn't a new tool anymore. And as a matter of fact, the reverse is becoming true. Of course, if everyone's doing it, then you're not unique. And actually, some of these job boards are really losing clients. They're losing corporate recruiters, and they're losing independent recruiters as clients because those people are not wanting to pay the high cost of subscribing to them and their databases, and actually going online to search for people, as I mentioned before, in Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you feel like you're doing that and you're sitting in front of your computer all day long searching job boards and corporate sites for jobs, well, you really should only be spending no more than 10% of your time doing that. And if you're spending more and spending all day, it's depressing. You don't want to do that. And if you've experienced that, you'll know what I'm talking about. So in addition to that, you should be getting out and connecting with your network. And that can also be done online, of course, as well as face-to-face. But especially if you've moved from somewhere else, you really need to be building a network. Or if you've recently moved here, connecting with your old network like I did when I moved here 9 years ago. And I had some fantastic introductions to people out here, executive-level people, from people I knew in Miami, you know, where I was living for a while. And it was amazing. So if you've moved and have no one, use your old network.
Oh, Laura?
Yes, I would say that in addition to companies posting jobs on LinkedIn, I'm not sure that it's totally free, but I do know, I think that their membership is at a premium. I'm not exactly sure how they work that with LinkedIn. But for them also, for the recruiters, aside from posting jobs there, for search, they can just go in and put the criteria they want kind of in the search box, and they, you know, maybe they're doing they want to look regionally for a person, so they would put a geographic area, they would put some keywords in there, and then it's going to go to you. That is going to find you and just bring them up in their search. Lots of people who are just posted there. So in their search process, never mind posting a job, but in their search, they can find you on LinkedIn in that way. And I know people who just suddenly got a pre-screening call from some recruiter that just searched for them and found them. I'm trying to find out more and see if they want to interview them.